Okay, good morning, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. As I mentioned on Monday, I wanted to start with a series of videos on character modeling, but using organic modeling techniques. And to start that off, I started off really poorly with the cup modeling, which is a very simple model to do. And I don't know, maybe it's this COVID thing is sitting in here in my studio by myself, not thinking clearly. So I got this going again, and this is what I'm going to cover today. This is all I want to cover today as a cup model. And I want to show you two different ways of doing it. I want to start by doing it with the organic modeling techniques, and then show you if you were to use Boolean modeling and the difference between the two. Okay, so we'll see how long that takes. So this is my backup in case I screw this up again. So I'm going to start with a brand new layer and we'll begin again. So I'm going to hit A to select all. And I'm going to start with a disk tool. So I have to build the base cup first. And then I want to build a handle separately and attach it in an organic method. And one of the tricks to working organically and what most modelers prefer is that you continuously work with a 4 poly mesh for for quads. At the very end, when you're all done, if you want to triple, you can. If you want to apply n-gons, you can, but I don't recommend it because then you can't use organic modeling, but that's for another day. Anyway, let's go ahead and start with a disk. And if I have this set from before, remember this is going to be a big cup. I'm going to activate that. And I made it, it's 1 meter in diameter. Okay, so the X radius is 500 millimeters. The Z is 500 millimeters. So that's just a flat disk that I have going on here at the moment. Now, I could very well just have made a cylinder, but I want to show you that you can start by working with a flat 2-dimensional shape and then build upon that. So I'm going to go ahead and just view the back view from there's a single view real quick here. And now I'm going to go ahead and under multiply, what I want to do is I want to extrude. And I'm going to move this up, and I'm going to move it up and hold down the control key so it doesn't skew to one side or the other. And I'm going to go up 6 units. Do you have to do it that way? No, but I did that the other day just to make sure that everything was copacetic. Now, what I need to do is to build the interior of the cup. So to do that, I'm going to use the Bevel tool. And to do use the Bevel tool, I have to select a single poly. And I'm going to select that top poly and build it up and inward to build that concave area there. Okay. So again, I'm going to focus mostly on the back or the side view. It doesn't really matter how I do that. So I'm going to go ahead and view the back view from single view, just so I can see this nice and big and very clearly. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit B for bevel, and I'm going to right click and drag it up just a little bit, and then let go of the mouse. Then I'm going to right click and drag again and go in just a little bit. And then right click and drag and come down just a little bit. And then right click and drag again and come down a little bit. And then right click and drag, and I'm going to hold down the control key because I want this to be nice and straight at the bottom. So I'm going to leave it right about here. Okay. And I'm all done. So now I can turn off bevel. I can deselect the polygon at the bottom. And if you want, we can take a look at this just so real quick, just so we can look and see what we have going on here. And from the perspective view, I can go ahead and I can zoom in a little bit and see if I have something that's decent. Yeah, and it looks pretty good, and it's not too thick. And now I can go ahead just to give you a preview of what it's going to look like. I just wanted a rounded lip, not a sharp edge. And if I hit the tab key, then that allows me to see it as subpatches or meta NURBS. And you can see what I have going here. Now, why I have this loop along here, maybe I stopped or something, but I don't have that on the other one. So I'm going to go back to the other one and I'm going to use it. So why that got screwed up, I don't know, but I can show you here what I'm going to do. Because maybe I did stop it for a moment here. And when you stop, then you add geometry, and I didn't want to do that. And I probably shouldn't have stopped. And I think the reason the other day that I had an issue is that what I want to do from the side view is that I wanted to select a whole array of points along here. I don't want to select these, but by selecting them from outside here in the texture or the shaded or textured wire view, I only selected the outside, and that's where I wasn't thinking. I want to select all the way through here. So if I go back to edge and I select, just a few of these, and it doesn't really matter which ones I select. I can hold down the shift key and select a few more. There we go. And now I'll go ahead and I'll select loop. Okay. And now with that whole loop selected, it should be inside and out. And let's see if I've got that. And I don't. That's kind of weird. So let me deselect. And if it just doesn't work, I'm going to go ahead and instead I'm going to select points. Let's try that for a second here. It's a good thing that I did a little preview the other night, and it took me 2 minutes to build it. And why I'm having issues now, I don't know. So I'm going to right click and drag around here and see what I have. Now that's weird. Now those are the top polys that are selected. Yeah, that's top points. I don't want that. So let me deselect. Let's try that again. Let's select these points along here and see if I have what I have selected. Yeah, it's those. Huh. Very bizarre, very bizarre. I don't know what I did wrong this morning. So I'm going to switch back over to here. And this is the correct way of doing it. And why I'm having troubles again, it's probably because I'm recording this and I'm demonstrating for all of you. But what I did is I simply took and I made 4 cuts along here using the knife tool. So to do that, you just simply hit Shift K, or under construct, we can come down here. No, sorry, let's try multiply. And the knife tool is down here, okay? So to make a cut, you just simply click and drag across. And I can hold down the control key to make sure it's nice and horizontal. And let go. And then if you want to make another cut, you just simply right click and then where you want the next cut to be. So I did that and made these 4 cuts. And that's what I want to focus on now. Because now that we have our basic cup shape created, we're going to create the geometry necessary for the handle. Okay. So I want to make sure, if I zoom out here, that I'm working along the plus X axis. So this is the Z, this is the X, this is the Y. So along the plus here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these 2 polygons right here. And I have points selected and I don't want points. So I'm going to select polygons. So I'm going to select these two right along here like so. Okay. So now what I can do from the right view is I can zoom in on that and view just the right view. And you know, I didn't want these two, I wanted these two selected. So let's deselect again. Let's go back out and let's look again. So I'm going to look, I'm going to zoom in here. It's just easier if I select the polygons that are right on the axis. And you'll see why in a minute, because I want my handle to be rounded, not, you know, rectangular in any way. So I'll select these two polygons. Okay. Now, before I merge the polygons together, though, to make this more rounded, I'm going to select points. And I'm going to select this point here. And I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select this point here. And now from the right view, and you can see what we have, that we have the correct points selected. I can go ahead and I can hit H for stretch. And what I want to do is just those 2 points, I want to stretch them out. So I'm going to left click and drag like so to make sort of a hexagonal shape here. And you can see that in the texture wired view, and you can see that also in the wireframe from the right view. So I'm done with that one. Now I'm going to do that with the bottom because these are going to be attachment points of our handle. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click a point here, and I'm going to hold down the Shift key and click a point here. And I'm going to hit H for stretch, or that would be under modify, stretch. And then from the right view, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stretch it out like so. About what I did for the top. And that looks pretty good. Okay. So I'm done stretching both of those. And now before I add the geometry for the handle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two, I'm going to switch to polygon mode, and I'm going to select these two polys and I'm going to merge them together. And where you find that is in detail. And with both of these polygons selected, you'll find it under polygons, merge polys. So now these are merged together and you can see I have my hexagonal polygon. Okay. So now I'm going to do the same. I'm going to deselect for the bottom one. I'm going to select this one, these two polys, and I'm going to merge them. Boom, like so. So there's various ways that we have now of pulling out the geometry for this. But the one that I'm going to use that I've shown you before is under the Multiply tab. Okay. And where we will find it is, if I can find it here. Let me go ahead and, if I don't have anything selected, everything is selected. So it should be under More, and I want the Magic Bevel. Okay, now with the Magic Bevel selected, notice that I can pull points out of everywhere. But I'm going to do this from, again, the right view. So let's go ahead and see if I select the correct one. And I'm going to I have these default settings here. And I'm going to select this one right here and pull it out and see if it's the correct one. So let's turn that on. Let's go back here and see if I have the correct one selected. And I don't. Okay. That's not the one I wanted. I want this one here. So it's possible that I'm working from the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that back off. And let's make sure that I have its plus side. Okay, so it may have been, okay, if this is X, then that's why it was the wrong way. So I'm going to need to do it from the back view. That would be why. So I'm not thinking here. See, I'm going to blame it on COVID-19 that I'm not thinking clearly here. So let's try that again. Let's go under more and let's select Magic Bevel. Okay, let's go Magic Bevel. There we go. So from the right view right here, I'm going to click and drag and pull this out like so. And that's the correct one, and pull it down. And it looks really kind of weird. I have way too much geometry, way too much, but I have it started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the geometry and make it, tweak it a little bit. And then we're going to weld it to this bottom group down here. So what I need to do is I need to, let's view the side view, or the back view, I should say, from here, and zoom in a little bit, just so I can see this a little bit more clearly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to now, instead of extrude, I want to, before I edit the path, I don't need so much geometry. So I'm going to start to delete some of these knots that I've added here. So let's delete this one, maybe every other one for the time being, just to see if that might be enough for me. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 knots. That might be enough. If I need to add a knot, I can. But I don't need to delete anymore, but I do need to edit the path. So now what I can do is I can click on each of these knots and I can move them around like so. Okay, so that's what I've got going on here. And now I can, edit this and make this a little bit more symmetrical. And what I can also do, because the default setting for this scales it at 90%, and as I showed you a few days ago, that when you're using that, this tool is really, really good for creating, like the limbs on trees and that sort of thing. So I want to get this really close, and I'm trying to do my best here to try to make this as symmetrical as possible. This is going to be kind of a fat handle, but that's okay for our demonstration purposes today. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Okay, I think that should be plenty of geometry for our needs here. Okay, so now that I've extended or extruded that, I need to join these points with these points here to complete the handle. So I'm going to go back out of side view and view all of these. And we're going to look at this now from just the perspective view. So I'm done with the Magic Bevel, so I can turn that off. But before I can join the points together, and this is very similar to what we did when we were working with a reboot character, and we attached the leg to the foot, that we're going to use the weld tool here. So I'm going to zoom in so I can get a better shot of this. And in order to weld these points together, I need to first select this polygon and kill it. I don't need that polygon inside that. So I'll hit K for kill. And now I can proceed to weld one point to another. So because I want this point to go to here, I need to switch to point mode. And I'm going to select this point first. And it really doesn't matter what order that I do them, but I want to select this one first and then this point. And then under detail, I want to select weld. And notice that it took the point from the handle and attached it to the cup. I want it to go from the handle to the cup, not the other way around, because then it will distort the cup. I would rather distort the handle a little bit. So now I'm going to kind of go around the horn, just like I did with the foot and the leg of the reboot character. So you have to make sure that you select the correct point, though. And if I goof up on that, then we can also, we'll fix that just by undoing. And I'm going to come up here again. And from perspective view, and it's easier selecting the points that I need from perspective view to make sure that it's in a shaded view of some sort, so that I don't select any points behind or in the back. And I could still very easily do that, but I don't want to. So I have those two selected, and now I can go ahead and I can weld those together. I'll select again, and I'll select these again, and I'll weld those together. And let's go back up again, and we have just two more to go, and then we're set. Okay. Okay, we're going to weld that together. And we have this top one left, and that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and select that point, hold down the Shift key and select this point, and then I'll go ahead and I'll weld those together. So there you go. It looks a little clunky at the moment. And if I need to, I can, manipulate points and move them around. So one way of doing that would be from maybe the side view. So I can go from here, or the back view, I should say. If I want to make it a little bit more symmetrical, so to do so, I could go to Modify, and I could use the drag tool, and I can click in here, and I can drag some of these points around a little bit like so. And I can drag these around a little bit like so to make them, make it all a little bit more symmetrical before I go back and I do this. But I can always, edit this a little bit later if I need to. I'll move these up a little bit. It would require a little bit of point tweaking, but I'm not going to go and try a whole lot. Now the drag tool works without having to select points, but just by clicking on the points. And now when I have something that I think for our purposes today looks okay, I'm more than halfway there, okay? Now it doesn't look very organic at the moment, but as soon as I hit the tab key, I get an error message, and I'll explain why in a minute. But when I click OK, now look at my cup, okay? And if I want to, I can turn off textured wire and just view textured view. And this truly looks like a ceramic cup, because where the handle joins the cup, I already get these fillets or soft edges here, okay, that look really, really pretty nice. So it's more of kind of a Demitas cup. And as I said, maybe if I wanted this to look more like the kind of cup that I wanted, I would want smaller handles. So I would have had, what I would have done is make the cuts that I made a little bit smaller, closer together. And that probably would have solved that problem. But the reason I got the error message is as follows. At the bottom, I have, let's switch back to polygons. I have an n-gon here. This has 24 points. That's what it doesn't like. And I also have at the bottom here an n-gon. And it doesn't like that. But for our purposes, it works okay. I mean, I can leave that or I can fix it. And if you remember how I do that, let's do that for the inside here. Let's, I have the inside one selected. But what I can do under multiply is under more down here. Remember how I could say make pole? So with that polygon selected, it now subdivides that into that pizza pie kind of shape. And then for the bottom, before I actually do that, maybe what I want to do is I want to create a kind of a concave bottom a little bit. So let's deselect the point. Let's come back and select polygons. And I want to select the polygon. And just as I did for the top, I'm going to do this for the bottom just a little bit. So with the bottom selected here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to view it just in a little bit larger view. And I'm going to hit B for bevel, and I'm going to right click and drag. And I want to bring it in just a little bit, like so, round it out just a tad. And right click and drag. And then right click and drag it up a little bit so that I have my little concave bottom just a little bit like so. And if I look at this from perspective view and we look at it from the bottom, you can see that looks a little bit more believable now as a cup. And then if I want to, with that last polygon selected, so I no longer get any error messages, I can always go to more and I can say make pull. And there we go. That subdivided that. And now there are no more error messages that will be applied. So if I hit the tab key again, now it shows that I have an error message. Now, how can that be? So let me deselect the points. Point selected. There we go. Let's go back again and make sure that I have polys selected and see if I have that. Let's deselect those polys. And let's go ahead and hit the tab key once again. So it's saying that I have more than 3 or 4, polys with 4 sides. And that could very well be the polys that are attached to the handle here. But overall, it's working out okay for us. So again, if I hit the tab key and I click OK, I'm in good shape. So there you have it. There is a cup that we've created, and there we go. That's part of my problem down here. That let me go back a few steps. So I did that, and let's go ahead and let's, I think I selected that, and I went here, and let's say make pull. And now let's deselect the point. Let's go back and let's go back to poly view. And that's what I did. I accidentally selected those as polys, as subpatches. So now if I hit subpatches, let's try that again. Still get an error message. So let's go back. So there's several points, polys down here that are not, I think, that are not subpatches. So maybe if I select this loop of polys, I'm guessing at the moment, select loop, and I hit the tab key for that. That rounds that off a little bit. And so I'm in good shape. There you go. So that fixes that. And there might be some others here that I probably goofed up a little bit. Again, I'm going to blame COVID on all that. So let's deselect that and let's select this loop of polys. Select loop, and I'm going to go ahead and hit tab, and that rounds that off a bit more. Deselect Y. Let's go ahead and select loop, and I'm going to hit the tab key, and that rounds everything out. So it looks like a nice ceramic cup. Okay. So that again is an organic way of building something, even something very simple. And it's kind of the preferred way of working in most cases, except when you're working with objects that are mechanically built. And you can always come back and you can, modify points and select them and tweak them like crazy if you want. And I would probably go back and tweak this so that the handle is less thick and more, a little bit more symmetrical and that sort of thing, but you get the idea. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show you a very similar way of building this cup, but using what am I saying here? I'm going to use Boolean modeling for it, and so you can see the difference. and that you will not be able to hit the tab key for subpatches when you do that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this. And I'm going to say save as, and I'm going to call it, this one is organic cup. Cup demo. Okay. So I've saved that as the organic cup demo. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to load that cup that I had created from before as a starting point here. So I'm going to go ahead and load the cup. So I'm going to load the object, and I want it to be just cup demo. I'm just going to open that up. So, okay, so I'm back to where I was. And I don't need this interior geometry anymore. But what I can do is on a separate layer, because remember with Boolean modeling, you join objects together that are on different layers, unless you use speed Boolean. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and create my handle by using just a simple tube, okay, or a disk. So from maybe the side view here, I can go ahead and give me an idea for the size of this. We can create like so. And let's move this over like so. Okay. And I'm going to stretch it out like so. And then I'm going to move this out like so. Okay. Now, in order for me to bend this, remember what I have to do. I have to add geometry. So I already have 24 sides. That's plenty. But I need to add a boatload of segments. And I'm just going to crank that way up to maybe 48 or so, or 50. So now I can bend this. Okay. So now that I'm done building it, and I believe that's long enough. And if it isn't, or if it's too long, I can always go back and edit it. So now what I want to do is under modify, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the bend tool. So here's the bend tool. And from this view, from the right view, I'm going to bend it like so. And notice that it's bending the wrong way. But that's okay. Because I'll just, for me, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can make sure that I see everything. So how about if I bend this up instead? So instead, the shape is what I have is the fall off going from small to big. Let's do it this way, and now it will fix that. See how it's bent in the correct direction now? And now I have to, just as we bent the legs for the character, and we bent, various other parts of our model, we have to check all the views to make sure that we have this perfectly vertical and it fits nicely like so. And that looks pretty good. So now I want to make sure that the handle is inserted a little bit into the thickness of my cup. And now because I'm going to join the two together, it really doesn't matter which is in the foreground and which is in the background. So I turn off the bend tool now. But just for argument's sake, I'm going to put the cup in the foreground and the handle in the background. And now I have Boolean modeling available to me. But you'll notice that I can see that because I use 24 sides for my cup, that I see the facets. The only way that I can get rid of that is by the surface, editing the surface and turning smoothing on. I might have plenty of geometry for the handle, so I don't need to do that. But where you will really notice the difference is where they are joined. So it really depends on the kind of look that you're going for, whether you're going to use Boolean or organic modeling. So now that these are overlapping, I hope, it should be overlapping. And I believe they are. Yeah, they are. Now what I can do is I can select under construct, and I want to use Boolean modeling, and I want to use union. I want them to be joined together. Okay. And there you go. Now they are joined together. Now it keeps the background handle, but that I can get rid of if I wish. But if you recall, one of the final things that I need to do to make sure that, in fact, this is joined together, because if I select a couple of polygons here, okay, let's select a couple of polygons. There we go. And if I say select connected, notice that just the cup portion is selected and nothing else. So remember what I have to do. The last step is that I need to merge them together. So I'll deselect, and then I'm just going to go ahead and hit M for merge. And I'll do automatic, keep 1 point polygons, click OK. Notice that it says 78 points are eliminated. So now when I select a couple of polygons and I say select connected, everything is connected together. But again, where you notice the difference between this model and the last model I created is that where they're joined together, okay, it no longer looks organic. And again, you can see the facets. So what I would have to do is I would have to hit Q for a new surface, and I don't want it to be default, so that it looks a little bit smoother, but I wouldn't be able to round that out. Perhaps I could try, but using the rounder tool, but I'm not sure that I would get the desired results. So organic modeling, if I want to make it look like a ceramic cup, would really be the way to go. So I'll just name this cup surface, and we'll give it kind of an earthy tone, or maybe make it a blue cup. Why not? And I'm going to turn smoothing on right here. And there you go. So it creates, it smooths it out, but where you really, really notice the difference, well, you also notice the top too, that no longer looks, you really see it faceted there. And but where it's joined together, if you want it really abrupt, maybe that would work well for a door handle to a door or a drawer or something like that. If you were building something like that, that you don't want it rounded, you don't want it curved. You would want it look like it was machine made and joined together with screws or something like that. So that would be when you would want to use that. But if we switch back now and we go back to the last one, and you can see the decided difference, where everything looks much, more organic, like it's, been constructed out of clay, not machine made. So it has sort of a handmade look to it. So that is my introduction to organic modeling, that you will principally start with basic geometry, as I did with the cup. Actually, I used a bit more geometry than you normally do. But because when we notice, when we look at the head modeling videos starting on Monday, for the character model, we start with a basic box. And the person who's going to be doing the demonstrations from a video that I have is Todd Grimes. And he is really, really good. He is much better than I am at character modeling. So that's why I like showing his videos. But anyway, that's where we're at with that. You're going to start with a basic geometry, could be a very simple box. And then through adding some knife cuts, through using bevel and or smooth shift, And occasionally we're going to use something called spin quads, which Todd Grimes will show you, that we're going to add the geometry where it's needed and as it's needed to build the basic facial characteristics of our character. Okay. So that's really all I have to add today. That because, as I said, I want to start fresh with the recording when I do the character model videos. And as I said, they will be available to all of you on Canvas, not on YouTube. Because if I put them on YouTube, they're probably going to get bumped off for copyright infringement, even though I am using this for educational purposes, and I should very well get fair usage for it, but I don't think that they're going to see it that way. So if there aren't any further questions, you know, we've only been talking for about 40 minutes here today. So it's a short lesson, and it, you know, it's worked out okay today. A little bit better than my start last Monday. We're ending with lighting and that sort of thing. I guess one of the things that I can show you, just to show you what I've been working on for my personal stuff, is let me come back here and show you the gallery that I've been working on. So I'm going to switch and I'm going to move this up. Now you can't see this just yet, but I'm going to go ahead and let's go back here, and I'm going to bring this down. There we go. So I think all of you can see the gallery that I've been working on here. So, you know, these are examples of my personal work, but because of the COVID-19 crisis, you know, pandemic, the galleries are closed and there's no way that we can show our work. So this is just a gallery that I've been working on. And the lighting for me is probably the hardest part, to make it look somewhat natural. The chair, in fact, is something that I built and modeled and output using our 3D printer. And this is a situation where if I, under ideal circumstances, was able to build that chair, not maybe through 3D printing, but through other means, that it would be approximately 8 feet tall. That would be what my desired goal would be. And there's another view of it. And you can see that I have my pieces that I've done that are framed back here, with all the shadows and all the lighting that I would have in a gallery, and my floor, and a little bit of reflectivity on the floor. So this might be, you know, something, you know, that you would want to do for your final project, something like that. Okay, so that gives you an idea of some of the things that I've been working on while you guys are working on your projects. Okay, are there any questions from any of you? Let's look at participants again. Let's go ahead and see if you have any questions or any comments. Go ahead and raise your hands. If there are any Q&A, we can also bring that up. And that will be it for today. I'll stop sharing. This definitely will be made available on YouTube. So if you want to give this a whirl. Okay. No questions, no comments. Everything is copacetic. We're good to go. Okay, then I will go ahead and I will stop sharing. And I will say that, you know what, that's it for today. You guys are free to leave if you wish. And I will stop the recording here. Okay, so I hope all of you have a good afternoon and a good weekend. And as I said, I will start the videos on character modeling on Monday. And that will take a series of days for us to complete. It's quite lengthy. That's also another reason why I use the videos instead of me building the character. because it's very polished and it goes smoothly. And it's a total of maybe 6 hours or so of video. Okay, so that's it for today. I will see you guys on Monday. Okay, bye-bye.